We're rich, so much of the world is poor. So how should we try to help people in poor countries? Some rich and famous people say they know. They made this ad.
We can beat extreme poverty,
starvation, AIDS.
But we need your help.
One more person.
Letter.
Voice.
Will mean the difference between life and death.
For millions of people.
This celebrity-filled public service announcement encourages us to beat extreme poverty, not by giving our own money, but by signing a petition to push our government to give more in foreign aid.
We're not asking for your money. We're asking for your voice.
And every year, Western governments do give billions in aid to Africa. But it hasn't worked. $500 billion later, Africa's still poor. It's odd. Let's look at that map of the world's wealth again. The richest countries are colored yellow. Think about those high-income nations in Asia. South Korea, Singapore, Hong Kong. 50 years ago, they were as poor as countries in Africa. But now they're rich, or almost as rich as we are. Well, many countries in Africa are poorer than they were before we gave them $500 billion. So why? Our next guests say they know the answer. Andrew Mwenda is a journalist from Uganda. Carol Boudreau is a law professor at George Mason University who served on the UN's Commission on Legal Empowerment of the Poor. So, Andrew, you first. Foreign aid is not useful?
Well, I think that foreign aid lines the pockets of international aid bureaucrats, politicians, and civil servants. How do the poor see it?
They steal it?
Of course, they steal it. But the most important thing is that aid makes governments lose interest in the prosperity of their own citizens. So aid makes people poor.
It creates a funny set of incentives, right? Andrew's exactly right. When you have a large-scale aid project coming into a country, you have government officials who are upwardly accountable. They're bureaucratically accountable. They're not accountable to their citizens. They're not democratically accountable. And that's one of the major problems with official development assistance. But that
they're accountable to some American politician.
They're accountable to someone who's working at the IMF or the World Bank, somebody sitting in Washington maybe or Geneva, not accountable to the person, to the small-scale trader who's sitting in the capital city trying desperately to make a living.
Well, another thing you should look at is that in Africa you have aid, rather you have poverty and wealth living side by side. If aid was in form of venture capital to support the growth of small, medium and large-scale enterprises in Africa, then it would be productive.
Well, we'll come to that in a moment, but this idea to criticize foreign aid is not popular. It's popular to say we should give more.
Hence that ad where so many celebrities were willing to show up to plead for more government aid. Maybe the biggest leader of this movement is the singer Bono.
When you are trapped by poverty, you are not free.
Bono's such a big advocate of foreign aid, he even interrupted my guest when he was making a speech that was skeptical of foreign aid.
Can any one of you tell me a neighbor, a friend, a relative that you know who grew well, who became rich by receiving charity, by holding the begging bowl and receiving alms? Well, since I'm not seeing the hand, it appears that what I'm stating is true. I can see Bono says he knows the country. Which country is that? Thank you very much.
So he was heckling you at this event?
Yes, he was shouting in the audience, bollocks, bullshit. Because you see, Bono thinks he understands what Africans need more than Africans themselves.
Well, Africa needs money.
You know, the road to hell is always paved with good intentions.
He said Ireland is prosperous because of aid from Europe. That's why he was yelling Ireland at you.
Caroline would be the best to answer that.
Ireland underwent a dramatic transformation, changed its economic policies, opened up its economy, lowered its taxes, and created an environment that's supportive of entrepreneurship. If African countries do the same thing, they'll succeed the way Ireland has succeeded.
If a country gets into the hands of rapacious politicians who steal public money and kill their own citizens, and it grows poor, then the international cartel of good intentions comes and says, oh, we need to help this country. So aid goes to bad countries. If you are well managed, you don't get aid. If you're badly managed, you are a friend and ally of Bono.
Although
Did you argue with Bono about this?
We had dinner one night. That same night we had dinner for 3 hours, and it was clear to me that he has his heart in the right place. his mind in the wrong place.
If you were to look at the Fraser Institute's Economic Freedom of the World Index that also came out this week, you'd see for the first time there's an African country that's listed as one of the top 10 economically free countries in the world. So,
which one?
It's Mauritius. If Mauritius can do it, a little tiny country in the middle of the Indian Ocean, small market, other African countries can do the same thing.
I should tell you that I actually think sometimes Americans, I'm sorry to say this, give money the wrong way. Take an example of Bill Gates. He has put up 40 billion of his own money to help Africa, but he's moving around Africa treating malaria. The best thing for Bill Gates is to support the growth of so many Microsofts in Africa so that people can have opportunity to earn income or to find a profitable trading opportunity in order to pay for their own malaria medicine. Africans do not need to be babysat by anybody from the world, but they need to be given opportunities through investment and trade to earn high incomes and be able to meet their own needs and the needs of their families.
One way to give opportunity is through something called microfinance, and you touched on it. Let's explain that. Often poor people stay poor because they can't afford supplies to start a business or get that first loan to expand their business, so they stay poor. And here's how one Mexican woman explained it to actress Natalie Portman.
We are not able to obtain any loan. Nobody would lend us money or give us just a loan like that. They would say, yes, we're going to give you a loan, but you have to leave a mortgage. And if one doesn't have anything, how are you going to get started?
So Portman got involved with a microfinance group.
The mission is based on the philosophy that the working poor don't need our charity. All they need is a chance. A loan of just $50 is enough to buy corn in bulk for making tortillas, a used sewing machine to make clothes faster than by hand, clay for the family pottery business. Some even save enough to open their own shop or restaurant, which brings in more income.
So that's booming, and amazingly, 90% of the loans get paid back.
Microfinances is a tremendously positive alternative for the poor. The poor do need alternatives outside of money lenders. They need alternatives outside of their friends and family because they can't go into commercial banks and get loans. It's not an option for most of the poor.
And in terms of these non-governmental organizations, talk about Play Pump.
Play Pumps is a South African company that's developed this very cool product. It's a merry-go-round that children get on to play, but in the process of getting on the merry-go-round and running around and having fun, a water hole is drilled in your community. So the children play at the same time that they're actually getting something people need, access to water, and hopefully clean water. That's a project that has a for-profit component. People want to sell, the Play Pump people want to sell the pumps. They want to make money doing it. But they're a social enterprise. They'll also accept some donations. I've seen lots of good examples of organizations like that that are accomplishing a social mission on a for-profit basis.
Well, I thank you both, Carol Boudreau, Andrew Mwenda. If you want to help invest, say, in a microfinance group or even make loans directly to people in poor countries, you can do that at johnstossel.com. I have a list of microfinance institutions that we're told are good ones. Can not only help some people, you might even make a profit doing it.